You go.
That's why I don't charge. But how much charge you got?
39%.
Do you want to put something then, just to be safe?
Oh, you want me to do it this side?
Well, that would make more sense because I've got a short cable.
Just push button.
I found that short cable by accident, because again, Mum had bought a new cable not long ago for her phone, and that's what she bought recently. Was that one?
You must have all iPhone 11s then.
No.
Oh, an iPhone 12 and currently one.
Dad bought an iPhone the same time I bought this, which was Brownlow last year.
It's gotta be. You have to have.
We actually did one we actually bought it in the exact same transaction. My computer and his iPad, and his iPhone, brand new iPhone, whatever the newest one was then, iPhone 13 maybe a 14. I'm really not sure what more you want from me again.
Brody Scapers.
Oh, not the sponsor that gave it to you.
No, but that's why I'm wearing it. This one time.
All right, we are live there. Cool bananas. I'll get the notes up. We'll do trade period reaction. All right, you're hearing all good? You hear all good?
Not really.
We do know it's a little bit dodgy, so we'll just figure that out.
There we go. Can you speak? Oh, sorry, I'll speak.
Check.
Keep going.
Check. Check.
You all good?
Yeah, I think I'm fine.
Yeah, I'm all good.
Cool. Yeah, definitely fine.
Yep.
Okay, we are recording here. This is not straight. That's better. It's not perfect, but it's.
I
good
can't
enough.
hear it all.
I can still hear.
There we go. Can you hear?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. All right. No, I'll be fine anyway.
We'll make it work. Okay, heads up.
Let's cool down here a little bit.
I'll get the notes up. Oh, nice, cool breeze coming through actually. All right. I should usually do the countdown before, don't I? Anyway, all right. 3, 2. Hold on, trade period 1. Yeah. All right. 3, 2, 1. G'day and welcome back to the Wing It Podcast.
It's been a bit of a hiatus, but we are back.
An indefinite hiatus, but all good bands. Well, not all good bands, but a lot of good bands have had hiatuses and they've returned.
Such as One Direction.
Did they?
No,
Yeah.
they didn't return.
Oh no. Okay. I had a band in my head.
Normally bands have hiatuses and return with
Silverchair.
a solo record, so we're sort of going a bit different. We're coming back as a duo still, so
Well,
you're lucky because
apparently
I've got to taken over while you were gone. So
Well, we didn't capitalise, but he did capitalise recently. We had a huge trade period, and there was some serious. I mean, one word we had written down here is "wow." What a ridiculous trade deadline.
well, it shows you that it's Super Bowl week, and all we're talking about is the NBA.
Unreal.
No one's talking about the NFL.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Shows you just how big it has been.
Oh, 100%. And considering the last 6 months for trades, end of start of the season, and then leading up to this, so dead shit boring.
Yeah.
It was just Rudy Gobert, and that was it.
Yep.
Now it's all come to a head. So let's get through the trade deadline and some of the biggest winners and some of the biggest losers that were there. So, biggest winner, no brainer, straight off the bat, it's the Phoenix Suns and it's Kevin Durant.
They've essentially paid 4 first-round picks, Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson, for a championship. The first Phoenix championship ever.
It is a first in franchise
would be.
history, isn't it?
Yeah. So
Wow.
if you think about where Phoenix has come from probably about this time 6-7 years ago,
Yep.
they were one of the worst teams in the league, constantly getting picks at the top of the draft and really fumbling them, apart from Devin Booker, really.
And even that was a bit of luck to be involved, to be fair.
And you even look at where they were when the bubble happened in 2020, just 2-3 years ago now. They were just a middling team and sort of fighting right at the bottom of the West, and now they've come up and they're probably the title favourites right now as well.
Got to be. They're the clear favourite in the West, I think, going forward, and they've got to be the clear favourite for the finals, I think, now. That team is... It brings me to my next point, that team. Is there a better starting 5 on paper? Have we ever seen a better starting 5 on paper?
Yeah, I think you could argue the Warriors starting 5 on paper
With
was
the KD
a little bit better. Yeah, exactly, because obviously they had Curry, Clay, KD, they had Draymond in there, and then they had Iguodala around as well. So I think certainly in terms of this year, I think it's the best starting 5 ever. It's got to be up there as well.
Well, in terms of if you maybe add up All-Stars or whatnot, it's got to be through the roof. Chris Paul's probably 11 times or wherever it is, KD himself. Booker's got a few up his sleeve.
Yeah.
Ayton, I mean, he probably doesn't have the resume for it, but he will eventually, and a number 1 pick, of course. So
it's 3 blokes that have been in the MVP conversation over the last 3 years.
Yep.
Just circling around that. Like, obviously, what Chris Paul has been able to do with this Phoenix team, completely changing them around and it's just been phenomenal what Devin Booker's been able to turn into as well. Obviously, he has a 70-point game up his sleeve as well, and Kevin Durant's one of the best scorers of all time. So those two sort of coming at a head and being on the same team is extremely scary for everyone in the West.
100%. And I think the biggest winner from this is Chris Paul. He might finally get that elusive championship, which he so thoroughly deserves.
And what do you think of what the Nets actually got back for this trade?
I don't mind it. We're going to find out now how important players like Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges are when they're gone. I think it's one of those you don't realise what you've had until it's gone.
Yeah.
That might be Phoenix's issue right now. For the Nets, I think Mikal's a star.
Yeah.
Both sides of the ball. He's been just balling out offensively recently.
Yeah.
Not just rebounding.
Over 21 points per game over the period that Devin Booker's been out.
Cam Johnson's a fantastic three-point shooter, and he's long and he's tall.
Defender.
Great defender. So I think it's okay for the Nets. I don't think you're going to get much better.
No. And those 4 first-round picks, obviously, that's the going rate for superstars these days, is just first-round picks.
Not even superstars, just mediocre Rudy Gobert.
Yeah.
That's it.
But I really think that Phoenix have been the biggest winner in this just because of what they had to give up.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, we talk about Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson as great players. Those 4 first-round picks, all unprotected. But I think to give it up for a superstar, that's probably one of the cheapest superstars that we're seeing going at the moment.
And it is it's probably the biggest superstar you could get.
Yeah, literally. He's probably the best player to have to slot into every team. He comes in and he doesn't really take away from many others. He largely just adds to the team. You won't see Devin Booker or Chris Paul sort of lose anything from him being there. No. You'll see them gain quite a lot as well. So, but they only gave up, obviously, the 4 first-round picks, which has been the going rate for players like Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert.
Yeah.
And I think we can comfortably say that Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert don't quite sort of come up to Kevin Durant's standards whatsoever.
No.
So to pay that sort of similar region for them, and it's not like he's expiring it either. He's got 3 years left, so you got 3 shots at this. And they could honestly come out of this with 3 titles.
Very, very easily. Yeah. Now, let's move on to a loser. And I guess this goes straight into it. The loser from this trade period is the Western Conference.
Yeah, there was it was quite funny because only 48 hours ago, we were looking at the West being wide open, there being no real contender, Denver being sort of the biggest of the contenders. And now it's like, we got Phoenix and everyone else.
Yep.
So you don't really see many teams going to be able to match up against them in the playoffs. Obviously, they've now got the length, they've got the shooting, they've got the players who have been there before as well.
This is it.
Chris Paul and Devin Booker have been to the finals, or Ayton as well, and obviously Durant's gone and won 2 finals MVPs. So he slots right into that team and makes it really scary for the rest of the Western Conference.
Now let's move on to another Western Conference team that we've noted down as a winner. Not everyone has, but we think they're a bit of a winner. A team of... what do you call it? Mismatch in terms of experience and inexperience. It's the Lakers. They acquire D'Angelo Russell, Malik Beasley, and Jared Vanderbilt. Now, I watched those 3 players very, very closely last year at Minnesota, and you've got an elite, selfless, tenacious, just wants to win, just wants to just play his role, doesn't care about anything else, and Jared Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Every team needs that. Simple 100%. As that. Beasley, actually quite a quality enough defender, very tenacious on defense as well, and a great 3-point shooter, but he's a volume shooter.
Yeah.
So, but he fits in a LeBron team. That's all that matters. And D'Angelo Russell has his qualities, has his knocks, fits in this team again. A better fit than what the Lakers had. I think that has to be a win for the Lakers.
Yeah, well, the things that Lakers were missing were rebounding, defending, threes, and that other ball handler as well. That's exactly what they've got from this trade. They've got
3. Yep.
Vanderbilt coming in with that energy. We've seen players like Iguodala, players like Draymond Green, even a Mikal Bridges, that sort of wing, long defender that provides a lot of energy and a lot of buzz around the ball and a lot of pressure on the ball carrier of the other team as well, which you will really need in the playoffs. And also, obviously, Beasley provides so much 3-point shooting. It's essentially all he does. But as you said, you'd know better than most. But him on the defensive end, what's he like there?
It's actually quite decent. He was a player last year that set out a goal to become an all-defensive player. He prioritises it and he cares about it, which I think is probably 80% of what needs to be.
Yeah, sometimes that's all you need. Is just a player to care about the defensive end and really prioritise that is sort of massive. And if they give all that effort on the defensive end and they have the physical attributes, they're going to be a great defender.
Now we talk about the price that the Lakers got these 3 players for. A Russell Westbrook in 1 first. That's a win.
How they gave up only 1 first, I will never understand.
I thought that 29 one was going for sure.
100%. The 27 and 29 were on the block for just about everyone in every trade that they were trying to do. But the fact that they got that over the line with even a protected 27 as well, with the top 4 protection on it, it just really bodes well for Rob Pelinka. And I saw a really interesting one, which was when any bad Lakers move, LeBron's blamed for it.
Yeah.
So you brought Westbrook in, it's all LeBron's fault.
Yes.
As if he sort of went in there with a balaclava on and a gun to Rob Pelinka's head. But then when all of these great players come and want to play for the Lakers with LeBron James, it's Rob Pelinka's fault. And it's look, Rob Pelinka, he's done all this great work. Look at him, how he's killed this trade period. But it is really interesting. But I think the Lakers did so well in this situation. And to think that they could have sort of wasted the same assets on a Kyrie Irving, I think this is a lot better for them and provides them with that depth that they do so desperately need.
Agreed. Now, a loser. Works again in a perfect sense is the Utah. I think Utah has to be a loser here.
Yeah.
What they actually got back for a Beasley and a Vanderbilt and a Mike Conley, it actually wasn't that great, was it?
No,
I thought that this trade here for Utah had a lot more worth. They even gave away seconds to Minnesota to get rid of Conley. I think it's an absolute L by Utah. And, I mean, Westbrook they've bought out. And whatever happens with him, that's, to be seen. But I think it's a loss.
Well, I think what they could have done was they could have traded Conley for a first.
Yep.
And they could have also traded Beasley and Vanderbilt for a first or a couple of seconds at least. We saw how sort of crazy the seconds market was.
This is true.
Just over this trade deadline. But I think you could have easily got 2 or 3 first round picks out of that if you traded these players individually. But you got caught up in this big 3-way trade where you ended up just getting a protected 29 pick out of it. By 2029, LeBron's going to be, 42? So you wouldn't think he'd be in the league. AD almost definitely not going to be there. And none of this Lakers roster is going to be there. And they're not going to have any picks to build it up. So they could literally be the worst team in the league. And then you essentially get nothing from that trade because it's top 4 protected.
Interesting. I'm not too sure about Utah there. You would have thought that Russell Westbrook's contract is worth more than a 1 first round protected pick and a bunch of pieces.
Yeah, exactly. And it's strange as well because you think that they would be able to have that bargaining power because they're not really in a rush to get rid of these assets.
Absolutely no need.
And I think that
they had no need. They're actually playing good basketball, not to mention.
They are. And I think a lot of the teams around the league would actually want these players. So 100%. They sort of had all of the bidding power.
Yeah.
But then, and they didn't even have to rush it either. It was done probably 15 hours before the trade deadline. So bit of an L for Utah here. You're completely right, but I just think they could have got a lot more out of it.
Agreed. Now another side of the trade here, and a winner for me and for most people, surprisingly. I wasn't sure how the public were going to take this, but they've taken it very, very well. And that's Minnesota.
Yep.
Acquiring Conley. He's a better fit for Minnesota. Let's just get that straight off the board. He's a better facilitator, a better playmaker, takes better care of the ball. He's got playoff experience. He's got games experience. He's 35 years old. Conley fits a young Minnesota team.
Yep.
He's got experience with Rudy Gobert. He's got experience with playing with bigs. So his Memphis days where he had Zebo and Marc Gasol. He's used to playing with these big, dominant tools. That's what Minnesota has.
100%.
He said in an interview this morning, actually, before the game, he goes, I'll take an assist over a bucket every day of the week.
Yep.
That's what we need. That's what Minnesota needs. It's a perfect fit for Minnesota. And it was very, very hush-hush in Minnesota was the whole D'Lo talks. We just assumed he was going to get extended, playing great basketball this year. The extension was going to happen. As soon as he's gone, all the reports have come out here. They offered him this, and this, and he declined them all.
Yeah.
So Minnesota had to make this move, and they did. And to get something back, Conley, and to kill Alexander Walker, who you're quite bullish on.
I'm extremely high on Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I think it provides a real buzz, especially off the bench for you guys. In a playoff series, I think that could be massive as that sort of Jordan Clarkson top contributor as well, especially if he comes on with a level head like J-Mac that I know you love as well. So him coming on, he's got great length as well. I think he's about 6'3" point guard, but he's got like a 6'8" wingspan.
Yeah, he's long.
So I think it's fantastic pickup just as a little throw-in as well.
Agreed. And then 3 seconds on top, which Minnesota needs draft capital back.
Yeah.
So
also, with Conley, the reason I like it just provides an adult in the room.
100%.
They talk about this a lot. Obviously, a lot of people credit Pat Beverly as a massive contributor to helping you guys with your success last year.
Correct.
Which a lot of people might laugh at that, think, oh yeah, obviously Pat Bev isn't a great player, but he's that adult in the room. He's there to push people, he keeps people accountable.
Plays playoffs every year.
He knows what it takes. And I think Conley can really provide that. And that's why it's sort of important to take a step back and look at what Conley provides to the Timberwolves rather than looking at Conley versus D'Lo, because in that you'd obviously look at D'Lo as a much better player.
Yeah.
But Conley fits so much better because his strengths more lie on the defensive end, obviously the experience playing above the shoulders, and then also his passing ability as well. Whereas D'Lo, a lot of his strength relies on carrying the ball and shooting, which is actually what the Lakers need. So it is the perfect trade where everyone wins in a sense. And I think it's just going to be fantastic, especially for that fit with Gobert. I think, as you said, he can really unlock him.
And he makes Ant better too. All right, loser. Every other contender that sat on their hands, and there's quite a few contenders that sat there and did absolutely nothing, which surprised a few.
Yeah.
You think about the Miami Heat. Rumors non-stop about the Heat doing this, this, and this. Oh, maybe they move Lowry. Maybe they do this or this. Nothing.
No.
We have the Bulls. Nothing. The Raptors. Jakob Poeltl's not anything to get excited about.
No.
A whole bunch of teams that are lying around their 5 to 10 regions in their conferences. They did nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, this is one thing that really disappointed me about all three of these teams. I think they've got very tradable assets, especially the Raptors. Everyone right now is looking for that 3-and-D wing. And then for it to come out that they were offered 3 first-round picks for OG Anunoby.
And turned it down?
Said no. Like, for 3 first-round picks, you look at what Kevin Durant went for. I wouldn't even see OG Anunoby as a quarter of the player he is.
Couldn't tie shoelaces.
And they still got a similar amount of picks to what Kevin Durant sort of offered as well. So for them not to take that, I think it's just absurd. They've just gone in there with another team I'd like to add in is Portland as well.
Yep.
Portland, just those middling teams, the Heat, Bulls, Raptors, Portland, all just going nowhere in a hurry. And in that no man's land, that's the worst place you can be in the NBA.
I'd hate it.
You're not getting a high pick, or in the Bulls' case, they're not getting their pick at all. And then you're also not competing whatsoever. You're nowhere near good enough. Like, the Bulls really should have made this opportunity to flip LaVine, 100%. That would have got you a couple picks at least. Maybe a couple of young assets as well. Flip Caruso. You saw what the Warriors paid for Gary Payton Jr.
This is it.
And he is like half the player that Caruso is. And then also players like DeMar DeRozan and Vucevic. These players, it's been proven that they're just not going to help you win.
Nah.
You're not going to get anywhere with them. So you may as well get assets out of them to future-proof your team, especially for a team, as I said, like the Bulls, don't have their first-round pick. They could get in there this year and just tank if they unloaded all their players off because their pick's actually top 5 protected. But I don't know what these teams are doing. They're just sort of middling with shit contracts, average players, and just sort of they're falling into that no man's land that you don't want to be in.
You're spending all year trying to get 10th and playing a play-in.
Yeah, and they get knocked out first round if you're lucky.
And you think you're a good team. It's a mess. All right. Now, I've got this one as a winner and a loser because it was a huge winner in my eyes, a huge winner in your eyes. Now, with hindsight, maybe it was a loser. Who knows? But it is Dallas getting Luka some help and getting Kyrie Irving. I loved the trade at the time.
I love it, yeah.
You got in a star. Simple as that. Best player on the market at the time. He wanted out. Bang, get him in on a relatively cheap deal.
Yeah.
And the West was open.
Yeah, exactly.
Unfortunately, now the West is not so open. So that's changed, but that's no fault of Dallas.
Yeah.
Great move. And I think it works with Luka. I don't know why people say it won't.
Yeah, I think it's a bit silly that people are saying it won't work with Luka. Obviously, Luka's had a fair bit of usage this year. He's got an all-time high percentage with usage at 38%. But the reason that he's done that is because we have no one. His second and third options were players like Christian Wood, Tim Hardaway Jr., Reggie Bullock. These aren't the sort of players that are going to win you games.
No.
So when your options are like that, you want the ball in your best player's hands, and that's Luka, and it's not even close. So he grew up playing Euroball, which is all about sharing the ball. No one in Europe really averages above 20 points per game. So it's going to be really important to understand that he has that sort of passing ability and that team-first nature already built into his DNA. So I think with Kyrie, it's going to work perfectly. And we've seen Kyrie work with so many ball-dominant forwards, like you were alluding to. Obviously, he's worked well with Tatum, even if that ended in a mess. He won a championship with LeBron. He's one of the most ball-dominant players in the league. And Kevin Durant. And someone like a Durant has almost exactly the same skill set as Kyrie Irving. Whereas someone like Luka Doncic, he's great at scoring, but he's sort of great at scoring out of necessity. He's more of a great passer, a great feeler of the play and feeler of the game. That I think it's just going to work perfectly. But
I agree.
As you said, it's a real hit in the nuts because it was a bit of a home run, sort of big ding,
because the West
big swing, no ding.
So open.
It was so open. It was the perfect risk to take.
Yep.
It is a risk. Obviously, Kyrie comes with his baggage, and obviously Kyrie is on an expiring contract this year. So that can pose a bit of an issue that we could have lost a pick or two for nothing, really. Yeah. But I think it's really worth it still, regardless. But it's going to be hard to get past Phoenix.
I completely agree. All right, some other trades. We're not going to go into too much depth, but a little bit. Firstly, John Wall, lol, poor bloke.
Poor bloke.
Back at Houston.
Literally came out on a podcast a couple months ago and talked about how
bad is that?
His time at Houston was the worst ever, and he hates Houston and what they did with him. He will never forgive them, and now he's straight back there.
And now he's back. What a mess. We talk about Jay Crowder going to the Bucks.
Yeah.
Paid 5 second-round picks.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the second-round picks.
I don't know what this... I don't understand.
Do you know how many second-round picks were dealt over the trade period?
40.
38.
Yeah,
very close.
Good guess by me.
38 second-round picks were dealt over the trade period. So
absurd.
I think to pay 5 first-round picks for Crowder is an overpay, but
completely overpaid.
If he can get the Bucks to near a championship, then it's worth it.
It's not going to hurt, is he? I guess he's probably an upgrade on a Wesley Matthews or something or other.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've got the Clippers reload slightly.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a team in the NBA that loves depth more than the Clippers.
Yeah, they do have quite a lot of depth.
Like their 10th best player is probably like Nicholas Batum, who's still a good player.
Yeah.
So like it just keeps going on and on and on. They get rid of 3 players and they bring in Plumlee. Love that acquisition.
Love that, yeah.
He is a stud. Great passing big man. Great rebounding big man. Can't shoot a lick of free throws, but regardless, great backup to Zubac.
And also Zubac's numbers have been slowly decreasing over the last month or so as he's been carrying so much of a load. He's playing 38 minutes a game.
Well, who is their backup center right now?
I think
it's a Moses Brown
bloke.
bloke.
I think Batum.
I think Moses Brown is saying his name. He was playing a few minutes here and there.
Well?
That's it. So that's how deep they've been going.
Yeah.
So it's an issue.
I think it's fantastic to have that sort of backup for him and a
Agreed.
person to play sort of like 20 minutes a game, and they can split the minutes quite evenly and both have their sort of strengths and weaknesses as well.
This is right. Now they get rid of Reggie Jackson and bring in a Bones Highland. Now
love it.
I think that's a great trade. I think Reggie Jackson. I think Bones is a better player than Reggie, and you get the future upgrade, obviously. Yeah. So it makes perfect sense.
Also, you have 3 years of contract flexibility with Bones as well.
Yes.
So you've obviously got that rookie extension with him. So he's on basically no money, and he can be a point guard of the future.
He can.
Which is fantastic, and it's something this team hasn't done whatsoever, is future-proof their team. But I think it's a fantastic acquisition. And obviously with Eric Gordon as well.
Eric Gordon's an interesting one.
Great pickup.
But you get rid of Luke Kennard, and I don't really see the huge upside in a Luke Kennard and Eric Gordon.
Yeah.
Experience, that's probably the only differential.
I think the issue is that Luke Kennard is a genuine 0 on defense, and also ball handling. He's one of the worst players in the league. At least Eric Gordon can actually sort of hold his own on defense to some extent. He's a bigger body.
And he's an adult in the room.
Yeah, an adult in the room as well. He's been there before. He's literally been to the Clippers before. So it's just going to be really good for the Clippers going forward. I think they needed this boost. And it's going to really see a big improvement in the Clippers, I think.
Agreed. Now, to end with a fan of probably the biggest player we've spoken about in the podcast is Russell Westbrook.
Yep.
What's the goal now? He's brought out by Utah.
Yep.
There's talks of Miami. There's talks of the Clippers. What is the Westbrook goal now?
I think it's obviously to get somewhere where he can show the league that he's still got it.
And I think that has to be a bottom 5 team.
Oh, no,
I can't see him going to a contender and just being a Luke Kennard off the bench. You know what I mean? And we saw it at Lakers. It didn't work. I wouldn't say it was a complete failure.
Yeah.
But it didn't work.
Well,
it's an interesting one now.
The thing with Russell Westbrook, obviously, one of his biggest attributes is his playmaking.
Yeah.
So I feel like the perfect landing spot for him has to be the Miami Heat, because they have no playmakers. Jimmy Butler, as great as I think he is, he's not a true playmaker whatsoever.
No.
Bam Adebayo, obviously, he can play
man.
Great for a big man, but not great just in general.
No.
And outside of that, they just sort of have like these random Heat culture players that don't really have that experience handling the ball, and obviously Kyle Lowry's just been woeful this year.
I think he's averaging less than 4 assists on the year.
Yeah,
I'm not
literally.
sure what he's doing.
And I think if Westbrook's ever going to swallow his pride, it's at the Miami Heat. He's not going to get away with bullshit there. I think they're really going to enjoy his work ethic and his tenacity. I think that's what they're all about there. And I'd love to see him end up at the Miami Heat. I think him there with Butler and Bam Adebayo, I think they could go pretty far in the East. Obviously with the defensive ability that they all have as well. I think Westbrook's going to be great there, but he just has to go to a contender, I think, where he can just show that he still deserves to be in the NBA, because he's out of contract now. So I don't know if he's going to get a multi-year contract. I think he'll definitely get a 1-year deal at least next year. But
someone will pick him up, of course.
But he's a very detrimental player. Like he sort of improves others around him, but I think he takes far more than he gives. So
that's my issue.
But I feel like the Miami Heat have to do something. They didn't do anything, as we spoke about before, as them being losers. And I think this would patch up them doing nothing over the trade period.
And I wouldn't be shocked if he takes all Lowry's minutes in the end, because Lowry looks done.
Oh, I think Lowry is done,
So, I agree. All right. That's the end of our, what we call it, a trade period reaction episode. Thank you very much for listening. We are back, by the way. Let us know on Instagram and all social medias. Talk to us about the trade period. Yep. Who are your winners and losers? Talk to us about Kevin Durant, all the Lakers, the Minnesota. We love to hear it.
Yep. Thanks for all the love as well on the recent Instagram posts and all of the interaction on the polls and everything as well. Really do appreciate that. So
beautiful. We're going to be uploading a Super Bowl preview episode today as well. So keep your, I was going to say, ears peeled?
Yeah.
Peeled. Anyway, keep them all peeled and be ready for it.
Thank you very much.
Good night.
Oh, fuck.
I can blow my nose.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I'm sorry. I was trying to turn around. It's so fucking annoying.